Hey everyone, looks like we're live. So I'm looking right there, right in that camera. Okay, I have so many screens here. Okay, hey everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about anything or answer any questions you might have about working with virtual assistants. If you followed my previous live just maybe an hour ago, I don't know what happened. I was going live on Instagram and I was going live here on YouTube. And for some reason, there was no sound on YouTube. And I hope it's okay now. So if you're joining soon, just kind of let me know how you hear us, okay? You can always watch this recording, so if you have any questions about working with VAs, you will find a lot of the answers here, which is exciting. Okay, so just kind of letting you know how it went. I reached out to the people in my network. I sent an email to everyone. I reached out to, I put something on Facebook, on Instagram. I reached out to a lot of communities that I'm a part of, and I said, who here worked with virtual assistants? What would you like to know? Or give me scenarios when things didn't work out, and maybe you want to know what happened or why that happened. So many people reached out to me, and so many people asked me their questions, which made me so happy because I was like, well, what if nobody asks anything, And even some people got on a call with me. I said, let me tell you some horror stories that I had working with virtual assistants before, and maybe you can help me understand what I did wrong. And I very happily. Okay, jumped on this. Okay, I see here somebody's on chat. All good. They can hear me. Awesome. Where can we send our questions? Put them here in the chat. Oh, if you're not live, okay. If I'm not live, I guess you can. I mean, I'm gonna leave my. You can look. You can always comment on any of my videos here on YouTube, or find me on Instagram, just anywhere, or just reach out to me directly. I'll leave the name of the company I represent. We're very easy to reach, and just make sure you anywhere you can leave us a comment. If you're here live, put them in the chat and I will address them now while you're here live. So thank you for the questions. Great question. What was I saying? What was it? Did leave off? Okay, so I asked everybody to send me their questions. I think I had more questions just come in now, which I can check here in a second, but because I get notifications that somebody else asked more questions. So I want to make sure I get to those as well. Okay, let's see. You guys ready to get started? Yeah? Me too. Okay. Number one, what is a virtual assistant exactly and what does it do? Okay, so some people may not be familiar with VAs. A virtual assistant is anyone working remotely. They can be here in the United States or they can be anywhere in the world, and they work for a local company here. I first discovered the work of working remotely when I came to the United States in 2018. We immigrated here, and my first job was sorry, I'm losing my voice. My first job was working remotely for a real estate company. I didn't have a car. We just got here. It was like so stressful. And I found this opportunity working from home. And I was like, oh, this is like so cool. This is like the best thing in the world. I was like, but will I be able to focus? Will I be able to deliver good results? And to my surprise, it actually worked out really, really well. I was able to focus. I was able to give good results. And then very quickly, I was promoted to being a manager. And then I was tasked to hire people under me so that I would train them on how to do everything that I'm doing. Right. So that was very good. So this is when I discovered this work remotely, and I was like, this is actually a really cool idea. So we hired people here in the US, we hired people internationally, and right now I have a company where we hire virtual assistants for companies in the US. And most companies, they want to hire people from overseas, even though we did hire people locally here as well. But all of this is work from home. So yeah, all of that. So what does it do? What does a virtual assistant do? I have a saying that says, if something can be done on a computer or on the phone, it can be done by anyone, anywhere in the world. Nowadays, with technology, it's amazing what it can do. As long as that person has amazing English, and let's be honest, one of the great benefits of working for a US company is because, I mean, you speak English and the world speaks English. So your pool of talent expands from your city, your county, your country to worldwide. Literally, the whole world is where you can fish for talent. And there are a lot of talented people worldwide. And oftentimes at a much lower cost than you would pay somebody here in the States. But the number one advantage of working with VAs, I say it's not necessarily the cost. It's mostly the available pool of talent, the opportunities that you have, right? So This is what exactly do VAs do? So our clients, what they hire VAs for: email management, calendar management, cold calling, follow-up specialists, closing deals on the phone, sales, marketing, so creating funnels, all of that, building apps, IT, bookkeeping, video editing, social media, property management, Airbnb, really anything that can be done on a computer on the phone can be done by anyone anywhere in the world. And that is amazing. Okay. All right. Don't forget to ask me the questions that you have them here. I'm going to periodically check the, chat. Okay. Question number 2. What do I do if I don't have consistent work for my virtual assistant? Okay. I get people ask me all this time. Like, I know I need to hire a virtual assistant, but I only have like 10 hours of work for them per week. I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you this real quick. Why do you need to hire a virtual assistant? Because I'm drowning in tasks. Oh, okay. Well, why are you drowning in tasks? Because I need to hire one. Okay. So if you need to hire someone and you're still drowning in tasks, then why can't you give more hours to the virtual assistant? So there's a couple of things here. I'm thinking that, and I know because I was guilty of that as well. Actually, quick story. I had a webinar last week, and on the webinar, I talked about how I had a previous company before, and I had to shut it down. We didn't fail financially, so to speak, but I felt like I failed emotionally because I didn't achieve what I wanted. And then a competitor came in and got everything that I wanted in 1 year when I worked so hard for 3 years, right? So like, why didn't I get it? Like, it was such like, why didn't I worked so hard. I put all my soul and heart into that. Why didn't I get the success that I wanted to? And that's when I came to the realization that what my competitor did and I didn't do, why she was successful and I wasn't, was because she delegated everything and she stayed in her genius zone. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I didn't stay in my genius zone. I was doing everything. I was a control freak. I had to do this and that and that. And I made every hiring mistake out there, right? It's like, I don't trust you with that. That's too important. I'm going to take care of that. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to do it. You're just going to do this little thing like making copies or binding books or like whatever it was, like something so meaningless, and because I was so afraid to let go of control. So when I have entrepreneurs come to me and say, I'm drowning in tasks, but I only have 10 hours a week for the virtual assistant, my number one thinking is like, why this can happen. You can't be drowning in tasks and only give them 10 hours a week. So what's happening? And a lot of 9 out of 10 times it's that the entrepreneur, they can't let go of control. They think no one else can do it better than me. No one else cares about my business as much as I do. I will lose my reputation. My clients will see the difference, all of that. And look, to some extent, you're right. You're right that this is your business and you care more about it than anyone else. You're right that you might be the best person in the world to handle a certain task. This could very well be true. You're right. But it still doesn't mean that you should be doing this. If you can delegate something to a virtual assistant and they can do it at 80% of capacity, it's already worth it to delegate it. Because when you delegate to someone, you don't delegate with the intent to grow your business. You delegate with the intent to save your time. Why? Because when you save your time and you can reinvest that time into something lucrative within your company, that's when growth happens. You don't hire people to grow your business for you. You grow your business for you. But for you to grow the business, you need to detach yourself from the busy work, let somebody else handle that, and you do something that's more impactful to your company, right? So that's very, very, very powerful. Okay, so we usually run there's an exercise that I run, and this might help with that question as well. So again, the question is, what do I do if I don't have consistent work for my virtual assistant? Okay, run through a delegation exercise. We actually have a delegation domination or delegation planner, and it's very, very powerful. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit of some of the things that we do. Number one is do a time audit. Write everything that you're doing during the week. Ideally, look at the past month, look at the past 2 weeks. If you have a calendar, it helps. I put everything on my calendar. Every meeting that I have, every when I have to prepare something, like everything is on my calendar. So put a time audit. It really takes about 15 minutes, but do everything. Payroll, checking email, doing this, getting on the phone, building a network, whatever it is, every single thing. And then next to it, put your how much, okay, there's a little more to that, but just general idea, like put a dollar sign to how much you think of how much revenue this is bringing. So you can put $1 sign if it's not bringing too much revenue, $2 signs if it's a little bit of revenue, $4 signs if it's like this is what's bringing you most income, most revenue. Think about it like on Google, that review, when you review restaurants, when you have the dollar sign to show you how expensive that is, kind of the same thing. Have that system. So what I realized is that a lot of people are doing things that are not bringing in revenue, but it's taking a lot of the time. Um, so delegate the things that are not necessarily bringing in revenue so that you can focus on the revenue generators. Like, for example, building your visibility online, something that no one else can do but you. Building a network, negotiating high-level deals. You don't have to qualify your vendors or qualify people to see if there's a high-level deal there. So you can have somebody else, like, for example, take people through a qualification process, and you only focus on the ones that are closable, that deals that can be closed and can make more money for your company. Okay, so this was very, very, very important. So when I had this conversation with this person, I said, would you mind doing a very quick delegation exercise? Just like, let's do it. Let's get on a call. Let's do it. I'd love to make sure I'll address it in the live, but I also want to make sure that you have the answer to that. And so we looked at that, and we also, part of that delegation domination is the delegation resistance. What's holding you back from delegating? What kind of fear do you have? And he learned a lot about himself as a leader. And he said, I need to get things off my plate, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to grow my company to where it needs to be. And I said, I agree. He was a perfectionist. He said, no one else can do things better than me. You're right, but you don't need them to do things better than you. Two ways you can delegate. You delegate to somebody who can do it 80% of capacity. That's it. They will grow the rest 20%. No worries. Or you delegate up. You delegate to an expert, something that you know nothing about. For example, I don't know anything about video editing. And so I'm not going to learn video editing. I don't want to focus on my weakness. I want to focus on my strength. So I'm going to delegate up to somebody who knows how to edit videos. Okay. And here's another mistake, that because people are so afraid of letting go of control, they say, I don't know social media, I'm going to take a course on social media. I don't know how to edit videos, I'm going to take a course on video editing. Let's say if your weakness is a 3 out of 10, and your strength, something you're so good, is a 7 out of 10, think about how much more you need. Like, from 7 out of 10, you need 3 points, right? Think about the time you would invest to bring those 3 points to give you a 10 out of 10 on your strength, rather than going 3 points on your weakness. So from 3 out of 10, you go to 6 out of 10, which is still not good enough. Okay, so don't focus on your weakness, focus on your strength, stay in your genius zone. This is the mistake that I made. This is why I had to close my first company, because I did not stay in my genius zone, and I lost big time. Okay, so stay in your genius zone, focus on your strength, and become the best at what you do. And then hire up, delegate up to an expert for things that you don't know, because your weakness is somebody else's strength. That's just the way it is. So if you're drowning in tasks and you only have 10 hours of work for the virtual assistant, I highly, highly recommend that you look in the mirror, look at yourself, go through this delegation exercise to identify what else you can do. All right, let me make sure I'm not looking at the chat here. No more questions. Let me know to ask the questions. Okay. Next question. What is a common hourly rate for a VA? This is a very difficult question to answer because when people apply to work with us, so we do direct placement, right? Let's say you're a company, you're looking to hire a virtual assistant. We will find out what you need, what you're looking for, and then we'll find the right people and place with your company. So it's direct placement. This is like you growing your own team in-house. They're loyal, dedicated to you. It's like we're matchmaking, right? We're matchmakers here. So, and when virtual assistants apply to work with us, we ask them through a form. We ask them different questions. And then one of the questions is, what is your desired hourly rate? What would make you happy? And they tell us their hourly rate. So I can only share what they tell us. Like, again, we don't dictate like, hey, this is how much we're going to pay you. Because it's direct hire, we're going to show you a candidate, say, hey, this is the person, this is where they're from, this is what they can do, this is their interview, this is their IQ test, this is their, like, we do all of that heavy lifting for you, right? And by the way, this is how much the person wants to be charged. This is how much the person wants to get per hour. Does that work for you? So you, as a client, might be like, you know what, that's reasonable. That's a little more expensive than the others, but it's reasonable. That person has a PhD, that person has an MBA, whatever, right? I can totally see that. I want that person in my team. right? So but if you don't think this is right, like there's a lot of other people. But typically, I'm gonna say what people put on our form. Depending on where they're from, depending for the role, I would say the sweet spot to hire a virtual assistant is anywhere between, I would say, maybe $5, but probably $6 to $8 an hour. You could get relatively good talent for $6 to $8 an hour if they're not in the United States, of course, because that's a different rates. But overseas, this is what people are charging. Now, it doesn't mean everyone is good. There are a lot of there's no shortage of virtual assistants wanting to work. There's never shortage. If you don't trust me, humor me. Put an ad out there if you look, and I can promise you that your inbox will be flooded with applications. I actually remember how I hired our video editor, or actually anyone for the company, right? We posted job ads everywhere, on Reddit, on Facebook, on all the job boards, on just everywhere, right? And everything was buzzing, like application, 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 application. It's so time consuming going through these applications, but there's no shortage of people wanting to work as virtual assistant. However, the good ones are very hard to find. In fact, in our company, we have to interview 100 people to select one, maybe two good ones. So 98, 99% of people are not good enough for a company for whatever reasons. Maybe their English is not strong enough for that position. Maybe they don't want to work during US work hours. Maybe they don't have a good internet speed. Maybe they don't have experience. Maybe they didn't show up at the interview. Whatever it was, right? Maybe they have red flags, and we have to eliminate a lot of people to get to that good ones. But when you find the right VAs, it's a game changer. It's not whether this works or not. It works. We just got to find the right person. So how much what is a common hourly rate? Know the industry. If you're a client looking to a virtual assistant, find out what is the average, because you might think that someone charging you more are better, and I'm telling you from experience, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I have seen people, let's say, some people say, I want $15 an hour. They're from overseas. And then my team sees, like, you have the same credentials, same resume, same everything. And I mean, I'm going to show you to our potential clients, but then the client's like, this person right here wants $6 an hour, and I think they're more qualified than the person who wants 15. Okay, so when you do this on your own, you might not know what is typical out there. Now, if you feel comfortable paying, at the end of the day, this is what I say: it doesn't matter how much you pay, as long as you have a good ROI on your investment. If I told you that, hey, you could 10x your money, would you really care how much you put into this? You wouldn't, right? If I say you can 10x your money, you wouldn't care if you put $1,000 if you know that you're going to get 10,000 back. You wouldn't care if you put $1 million if you know that you're going to get 10 million back, right? So it's all about ROI. It's not about what you pay, it's about what you're getting. So look at experience and know the industry standards. Because when we hire VAs, my team already knows what talent goes for what rate, and we can help you identify that better. So there's actually a question here that people submitted, and we're going to get to that in a second, but I wanted to make sure I address that one. What is a common hourly rate? It depends. Do what you feel comfortable. If a VA wants more and they're really, really, really good, if that's going to give you a good ROI, go for it. But just because they want more and it's just not justified, it doesn't make sense. On the flip side, if somebody wants very little, more often than not, it indicates maybe a beginner that just want to get a foot in the door. So again, see if you feel comfortable with that. Okay. Next question. What traits should a VA have? Again, I just had a live on Instagram, and I spent so much time on this question because there's so much to discuss here, and I'm going to try to summarize it. I had a live on Instagram, if you just joined, and then it just, I was going live on YouTube as well, and then it just disappeared. So I'm doing this one more time. Okay, what traits should a VA have? Hire for personality and then train for the skill set. Because when I started working remotely, I worked for a real estate company. I knew nothing about real estate, absolutely nothing, like zero. I didn't know what ballpark meant, anyways. So but they really they gave me a chance, because I had an interview with the COO of the company, and he saw something in me. He's like, I like your drive, I like your ambition, you're the right person for my team. And I said, I don't really have experience in real estate. He's like, you'll get there, you'll trade, you will learn it. Because if you can do what I think you can do, you're definitely the person that we want in the company. And I was very quickly promoted. I had very good results. I was promoted to manager in just 3 months. I hired people from under me. I trained them. We had really, really good results for the company. But that's what I'm saying. Like, hire for personality, hire for people who can solve problems. Even if they don't have experience as a virtual assistant, they must have experience doing something else, or put them in situations how they would handle different scenarios. And see their critical thinking, see their IQ. We actually test for IQ, we test for critical thinking, we test for personality, right? All of that, because that will be a good indicator of how good that person would be. Now, what traits, in terms of traits, I would say number one is coachability. If people think that they know everything better than anyone, this is a big red flag. And in fact, I actually told this story on Instagram as well, that we hired a virtual assistant for a sales position, and his resume was amazing, like perfect. He has the right experience. So we have this interview. He said, I have 10 years experience in sales. He was not cheap, right? Because he was more expensive. He's like, yeah, I know I'm above average, but I think I'm worth it because like of my experience in sales. I'm like, okay, well, tell me about your results. He was a little vague there, but I'm like, okay, whatever, let's kind of get to that. Tell me about what books do you read? How do you stay, how do you know what's working now in sales? And he's like, I don't need to read books. Hello, I have 10 years of experience, right? I'm like, okay, well, well, do you follow anyone on YouTube? Like, who do you like? Who's a good salesperson for you? He couldn't give me an answer. He's not following anyone. He's not reading any books. He's just relying on his experience. So I said, okay, well, look, let's have a role play, right? Look, we always put VAs to a test when we hire them. So let's have a role play. I give them a role play, and I realize, like, I don't think that you're there yet. And I said, you might actually need some training. He took it personal. He's like, you don't understand. I have 10 years of experience. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well, look. So we informed the client. The client was like, I really want that person. I said, I'm seeing some red flags. I'm not sure if I can recommend him wholeheartedly. And the client was like, that's the guy with 10 years of experience. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I want to give him a shot. I think he'll be good. If he has experience in years, like, he should be good, right? So the guy was hired. He didn't even last 1 month. So he came back to us and said, you're right, I need someone else. I'm like, well, tell me what happened here. And he's like, so he got on a call. He was supposed to close deals, and he's just, the tactics he used, like, so pushy. That's like, that worked in the 80s, in the 90s, but it definitely doesn't work nowadays. Like, very pushy, very aggressive, very like putting pressure on people. Like, nobody likes to be sold that way. And just kind of like very dominating. So I had this conversation with the VA. Said, look, this doesn't work. I don't want you to represent my company that way. I want you to be more like this and like that. And he's like, I know, I'm the salesperson. I know what's working, what's not working. But so, okay, I'm going to give him a try. He stayed for 1 month. No results whatsoever. People just didn't want to do business with him. Like, it's kind of more affected him. So he's like, you're absolutely right. I need to have a different person. So we gave him someone else. We gave him a different virtual assistant, and he was absolutely happy. Because, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the people we work with, the companies, who have the ultimate set of if they want that person or not. But it's our responsibility to indicate any red flags that we mentioned. So we did say, I'm not sure I can recommend that person. I see some red flags, but he wanted to give it a try. And then, so that's when we realized that coachability is very, very important. You cannot think that you know everything. There's always kid in the garage working hard to beat Apple. There's always, just because you're on top, it doesn't mean you're always going to stay on top. Someone's working very hard to take your spot. Okay. And in fact, I also brought this example that I'm very fortunate. I'm in a very good network of people. In my network, I have millionaires, multimillionaires, very, very successful people who are in real estate, and not only they have a lot of deals, right? And like very like influential and very successful people. And not once have I heard anyone saying that what I know is enough. Not one time. In fact, I actually know one of these people. He's very successful, but he's one of the best salespeople I've ever met. So he's always investing in his education. He's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in learning more about sales and getting better and better. And I asked him, like, you're already one of the best people I know in sales. Like, could you tell me, like, why you still keep investing in this so much? And he says, because I never think what I know is enough. Things change so fast. I need to know the psychology of people. I need to know what works. I'm never satisfied with the amount of knowledge that I have. And I'm like, this is a winning mindset right here. Because if you think you're good, you relax, somebody else will come take your spot. So when it comes to VA, it doesn't matter if you're a virtual assistant, it doesn't matter if you're a company owner, it doesn't matter if you're a multimillionaire, billionaire, or if you're just starting out, it's the mindset. This is if you're just like, I know everything, this is a poor mindset. This is a poor man's mindset. And poor doesn't mean don't have money. It's just a mindset that's keeping you poor, right? But a rich person's mindset, again, not how much money you have in a bank account, but it's a mindset that can help you grow, that you have to be coachable, you have to work on yourself, you have to be an A player. No A players ever said, I'm good with what I know. Okay. Number one trait. So again, hire for personality, and teach for or train for skills. So coachability, reliability. You can be the best person in the world, the best virtual assistant in the whole world, the best team player in the whole world. But if you're not reliable, it's useless. Okay. We actually did have an example like that. A very, very good virtual assistant, one of the strongest I've met. I mean, perfect in any way, not reliable. So we stopped working with him and would never recommend him to anyone else. Even though, I mean, if I show the profile, people would fall in love with him instantly. But I know that he is not reliable. He didn't show up at interviews, all of that with us. So that's why we do the heavy lifting. So, we only give you people who have passed our 7 levels of qualifications and can really actually want to work. So, reliability, coachability, growth, and that growth mindset. I think that's very important. Not have a fixed mindset. It's not things are happening to me, but have a growth mindset. Things are happening because of me. Like, I'm having success because I'm putting in the work, or take responsibility. The reason I didn't get this is because I didn't do the action, right? So have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Okay. Any other questions? Hello. This is so funny. We have a message here from Bill Clinton. Hello, Valentina. Hello, Bill Clinton. Okay. Wouldn't it be cool if actually Bill Clinton watched me? I know, that would be so cool. All right, let's see. Next question. How do VAs get paid? Great question. How do VAs get paid? Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I said Bill Clinton. Maybe this is Bill is a very common name. Clinton is probably a very common last name. I just made that, association. Okay, so how do VAs get paid? Let's talk about this. How do I answer that? Like, what platforms to use, how often do you pay them, or how to structure the payment? Let's address all of that. Okay, so let's talk about the structure. You can pay the VAs hourly. And that's most people on my company, most people on my team, they are paid per hour. You can also pay the VA per project, and you can also pay the VA per month. So let's talk about this. Hourly, it's very easy, right? You work a certain amount of hours, that's what you get paid for. Very easy, very straightforward. Per project actually might work better in certain situations. Let's say you hire a virtual assistant for social media. So you can hire per project or per package. You say, I'm hiring you for my social media. I'm hiring you every week or per output. I want to see 5 reels, 2 stories. I want to see this. And they have to be approved by me. If they're not, they have to be of good quality, right? If they're not of good quality, then I can't justify paying for that, right? So I have to approve it, and then I'll pay you. Now, here's a caveat. Do not have your VA work for a whole week or a whole month, and then you pay them, and if you don't approve it. Have milestones, have regular checkpoints where you can give them feedback and tweak the process. So let's say you hire a virtual assistant and you want to work per project. Let's say they design a website, for example, right? Once the website, I'm paying you, you wouldn't pay the VA once the website is finished if you approve it, because this is so much work, and you don't want the VA to work for free, and then they don't feel comfortable. It's like, I'm putting all this time and all this energy, and what if I'm not paid? It's going to be chaos. So instead, what you want to do, but you also don't want to work pay per hour, because you're thinking they might bill you for way more hours, and you want them to focus on the task. Like, I don't care if you get it done in 1 week, just make it look good and give me something that I can approve, right? As opposed to you dragging the time and working for months, and then it's going to end up costing me way more. So if you want to design it by project, that's also okay, but have regular checkpoints. So have milestones. Okay, we're building together this website. By the end of this week, let's have, I don't know, what is that? The header, the menu, the form, whatever, right? And then you pay per month, right? Next week, let's have this. So you set yourself milestones, and you pay the VA not at the end, but you pay like you can pay weekly, you can pay bi-weekly, you can pay something like this. But that gives you security that your VA is doing the work that they need to be doing, and also the VA feels okay because they know they're doing the thing that will be approved by you because so far you've been giving them good feedback. Plus, they get paid in chunks, like a little bit every month or every 2 weeks or so. So that's another way you can structure the VA payment. Also, you can do a monthly fee. That's okay as well. It totally depends on you. But whenever you do, have clear expectations. What do you expect people to achieve during that month? What do you want them to have in 30 days, in 60 days, in 90 days? How do you know that this person is a good return? It brings you a good return on your investment. And how will that virtual assistant know that they are safe with you, meaning they can keep their job, they're stable, they're not going to have to look for another job in the next month or so? So how do they know they're not at the risk of losing their job? Know what I'm saying? So that's very, very important. Okay. This is how you can pay: hourly, monthly, per project. And then how do VAs get paid? I pay my team twice a month. I pay them on the 15th and the last day of the month. And I find that this works for everyone. I don't pay every week because it would just, payroll takes time. It takes time, and I have a pretty big team. So if I were to spend this time every single week, it would just not the best use of my time, right? But then also I use different platforms, and they have fees, so I'm paying that every single week. Again, not ideal. I don't want to pay. I mean, if I could pay it once a month, that would be easiest for me in terms of my time and the fees that I'm paying. But it's not ideal for VAs because they have to work a whole month to be paid at the end. It's just not something they want. So people like bi-weekly, so on the 15th and the last day of the month. The platforms that I use, they usually charge about 1% of the fee that you pay. I don't use PayPal because PayPal charges you more. So unless your VA is in a country where PayPal is the only option, that could work. And if I'm paying my team, I'm the one that's covering the fees because I want to make sure my team is getting net what they work for. So let's say if they have like $6 an hour, $5 an hour, then they can count like I worked for 40 hours this week. I'm at $5 an hour. They know exactly how much they're going to get, and not have to worry that some fees will be taken out of that. I'm the one covering the fees. It's just 1%. No big deal. Okay. Now, what platforms to use? Depending on where your VA is from, you'll have different platforms. For Philippines, we use wise.com. We found that it's very easy to use, very reliable. Again, 1% fee takes, and so on. For if you're hiring virtual assistants in Latin America and Central America, like South America, then it's we use remitly.com. And then I also use Remitly for my virtual assistants in India. And then for Pakistan, I use Western Union. So usually I look at these three: Wise, Remitly, Western Union. If you have VAs in Egypt, Payoneer works best for that region. So again, when we work with us, we will tell you where your VA is from and what would be the best way to pay them. I also have a podcast episode here on this YouTube channel. I have a podcast like what platforms to use to pay your virtual assistants. So if you need more information, go ahead and check that episode. I try to give any questions, I try to make an episode and give you a lot more in-depth value there. So that's how the VAs get paid. Okay, any questions so far? Just to remind you, if you have any specific questions, put them in the chat. We're here to answer anything for you. All right. Okay, so when I ask people, like, give me your Q&As, give me the questions. What questions do you have about VAs? Or tell me the scenarios, like, hey, this is what happened. What did I do wrong? Like, what happened? And some people actually got on a call with me. It's like, I actually have some horror stories to share with you from my previous experience hiring virtual assistants. Would you like to hear them? I'm like, yeah, I would. Let's dissect what worked, what didn't work, like, what could have gone better. So here's a situation that somebody told me. We hired a VA to help us with our social media. She had a great portfolio and an awesome resume. At first, she was doing well, but then she stopped communicating with us. We didn't hear anything from her, though we see that she's online with her social media profile, and she's seeing our messages, but she's not responding. So because she didn't respond, we terminated our contract, and she deleted all of our stuff from our pages. Very bad experience, and not sure if I can ever trust VAs again. What did we do wrong? Okay. Oh man, first of all, I'm so sorry you had to go through this situation. This is horrible. Here's what I'll say. There's no such thing as a good or bad decision, okay? We decide if a decision is good or bad based on the outcome. So looking back, because this outcome was bad, that was a bad decision hiring that VA. But if the outcome was good, you would have said this was a good decision. This was the best decision in my life to hire that VA. So I'm going to say something like to take that pressure off you, because I know as an entrepreneur you feel that guilt. There's no such thing as a good or bad decision. At the time when you took the decision to hire that person, you thought this was the best thing you can do for your business, given the knowledge that you have, given the situation you are in, and given what this person presented to you, right? It did not come from bad intent. It came from a place like, this is the best solution for me. And then the outcome, you can't control this outcome. It is what it is. What we can do, though, is we can learn from it and maybe see what, there's no guarantee that, like, you can have the exact same thing, like how to create portfolio, awesome resume, all of that, and this is a game changer for your business. Okay, but we can still dissect maybe some areas that could potentially lead to this situation. Okay, number one, she had a great portfolio and an awesome resume. I stopped caring about resumes as much. People talk the talk all the time. Okay, so what I mean, like now with AI, with so many tools, you can have the most amazing resume, the most wonderful resume ever out there. I don't care too much. I don't want to fall in love with a candidate just based on their resume yet. Not yet, okay? We'll come back to that. And then portfolio. We hired a video editor, and when we hired a video editor, we placed job ads everywhere. And I think I mentioned earlier, right? Like Reddit, Facebook, everywhere. And everything was buzzing. Like people were applying. And of course, part of the application process was send us a link to your portfolio. And we have seen amazing portfolios, beautiful portfolios. And then we did something. I selected the portfolios that I liked. And I said, hey, I'm going to send you one of my reels, and I want you to edit that using like some of the skills that you know. I don't want you to like do the whole reel. I'm not going to use it. We can watermark it. I'm not going to use it, and just work on like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Like consider that instead of the interview, like instead of you spending, I don't know, an hour with me at the interview, just use that time. Like this is your interview basically, right? I want you to show me 5, 10 seconds, whatever you feel is necessary to show me your skills so that I can see if you're a good fit for me. Guess what happened here? So people applied, there was this many, right? Top of the funnel was huge. And then great portfolios were this many. And then when I put them to a little test, this is how many I ended up with. Why? Because the majority of people bailed. First of all, they bailed. Like, oh, I'm not doing a test. Okay, look, I'm not asking you to work for free, but it's 5 minutes, 5 seconds that I want edited, 10 seconds. And we're going to have an interview anyways, So just, anyway, so people bailed. But the ones who did complete it, a lot of them, when I looked at their work for me, I was like, no way, this is not even 10% of what I saw in the portfolio. Like, what happened? So I realized that a lot of people out there, not necessarily virtual assistants, just anyone looking for a job, local people, anywhere. People are people everywhere, right? So a lot of people, they steal portfolios and claim them to be their own. A lot of them do. A lot of people use AI to have this perfect resume and this amazing portfolio. So do not hire based on portfolio and based on resume. Put them to a little test. And if you want them to work on your reel, have that interview. Show them one of your videos and be like, hey, this is the video that I have. What would you change about it? And I want to hear something. I want to learn something new from them. I'm not a video editor. I don't know much about it, but I know that I want them to tell me this cut is too sharp. There's no story. I've seen people with great skill set, but their videos are soulless. Like they have no soul. Like there's no story. It's just shot after shot after shot. There's no connection between them, right? So I'm not a video editor, but I want that video to speak to me. So that's what I'm going to hire someone that that knows how to show a story, that knows how to, awake these emotions in me, like make me feel something when I watch that video. So we eliminated pretty much everyone. Like everyone was no, 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 no. We actually had to repeat the process a couple of times, but now the video editor that we have is really, really good. So there are good people out there, but I wouldn't trust them based on their portfolio and their resume alone. Put them to a test. Okay. I actually have another episode here on this channel on my podcast on what kind of test you can give your VA, so you can check it out. If you need to hire a social media manager, what kind of test to give them? If you need to hire someone on the phone, what kind of test to give them? So make sure to check that as well. Okay, after this live, I might come back here and just put the links directly in the description if I can. I'm not sure if I can. This is the first live I'm doing on YouTube, so bear with me. Okay, what else is here? We didn't hear anything from her, though we see she's online with her social media profile, seeing our messages and not responding. Since she didn't respond, we terminated our contract. She deleted all of our stuff from our pages. Okay. I never share my password with my virtual assistants, even though my team has access to my Facebook, they have access to even to my YouTube. I never share my password. I use something like LastPass.com, a tool like LastPass. There's otherwise, like there's NordPass, there's OnePass, there's a ton of them. But LastPass is very well known. That's what we use, and we've been pretty happy with that. And basically, what it does is you give somebody access, but they don't see the password. It obscures the password. It makes like those stars, it obscures the password so nobody knows what it is. And if you ever need to let someone go, you don't have to go through the hassle of changing your passwords, and you usually have the same password in multiple locations, and then forgetting that is just a big headache. So all you do is just revoke access. That's it. So I would say probably in that case, if you knew that you wanted to terminate that with a virtual assistant, I would have revoked access to your pages, so she wouldn't be able to delete that stuff. Another thing you could have done is have an agreement with your virtual assistant and let them know that while they're working for you, all the deliverables belong to the company. And most people don't object to that. My husband was a video producer for a big company, and he knew that while he was on the payroll, every video that he made belonged to the company, not to him. He's okay with that because that's what he's getting paid for. So make sure you put that in the contract as well, especially for something like social media or anything at all, right? Now, here's the thing about contracts. When you hire international virtual assistants, they're not legally binding because they're not U.S. citizens, not U.S. residents. So mostly having a contract is mostly like to commit in writing. It's more like psychological rather than legal, but it still helps with setting the like you put it on black on white. You put it like, okay, this is what I expect from you. This is what I, for us to have a good relationship and so on. And most people really, really care about what says in that contract, and they will respect it. And I have a contract with my team, and I know it's not legally binding, but we have all of this, like our intellectual property, all of this, so never had any issues. So I highly recommend you still having a contract, but protect yourself and use something like LastPass. Don't give your passwords directly. And if you're hiring a bookkeeper, for example, you wouldn't give the credit card information. A lot of the tools, they have bookkeeper access, which you can still do some transactions, but it's limited, right? So you don't see all that information. So there are tools nowadays that protect you. Just make sure to know about that. So because the contract's not legally binding, sometimes it just makes sense to work with a US-based company who will take care of that. That is more for your peace of mind if you want to do that. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure no questions. All right. So far, so good. If you're still here, just put a thumbs up, put a plus in the chat, just so I know you're here. And okay. We just had this live on Instagram. He was very active. So come on, let's show them YouTube is more active. Okay. Okay. One more question. Another scenario the person had, right? Okay. They consistently took a long time to respond to anything I sent them, and sometimes wouldn't even answer my calls. So I never felt like they were actually at their computer working. At the end of the week, they billed me for a whole working week. Okay, yeah, this happens. My team knows that they submit the hours to me, but in order for me to pay those hours, I have to justify them. So my team already knows that. And we use a program, we use hubstaff.com. And when I worked remotely for a real estate company, I was using Hubstaff also, and I didn't mind it at all. But basically what Hubstaff does is when you start a shift, you clock in, and then you clock out when you end your shift. And while you're clocked in, it takes screenshots. Every 10 minutes, it takes screenshots of your desk, and then it also monitors how much you move your mouse or your keyboard. So it gives a percentage of like how much activity you have, your activity rate. Now, if your virtual assistant needs to check their bank account, for example, right, and they don't want this to have the screenshot, they can clock out, do their personal stuff, and then clock back in. It doesn't record anything outside of working hours as long as you clocked in. And if you need to do work for 8 hours, then why would you object to that? But we have dodged a couple of bullets. We've seen people who watch movies, who play video games during work, and that's not okay. So that's why I think it's very important to have a website like this, hubstaff.com or timedog.com, also an option, and where, in a way can protect you, but it also can protect the virtual assistant. Because if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I worked 40 hours this week, and I look at the output, I'm like, there's no way this took you 40 hours. Like, I think you're I think you're cheating me on the hours. I don't think you work 40 hours. Then they can protect themselves. They can be like, take a look at my screenshot. It took me so much time to research, to set the system in place, to put the SOP, to put, to kind of prepare the background work. But after this, once I prepared the foundation, everything is going to go much smoother. Then I would look at this, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Totally. Yeah, I completely understand why I don't see necessarily the output now, because there's a lot of work being done in the back end. But once that's taken care of, we're going to see different results. So it's not only protecting you, but it's also protecting the virtual assistant. So it's a very, very good tool that we use. Right now, look, we're entrepreneurs. We don't have time to micromanage people. And you're not hiring babies. You don't need to babysit them. You don't need to hold their hand. You're hiring professionals. You're hiring adults, right? I don't have time to monitor this. I never go and check the screenshots unless I have some doubts and some questions, but I don't remember the last time I did that. But at the beginning of a relationship with a virtual assistant, I encourage you to do this, because some virtual assistants, they want to work for multiple clients at the same time. And we're not okay with this, because if I'm paying you for these hours, I expect you to do this work for me, right? I'm giving you your hourly rate. And in my mind, I'm thinking that you're using that time to give me the results you told me you would give me, right? So if you're working for me and someone else, then your attention is going to be divided. Why am I still paying you? This is not fair. This is not acting with integrity. So that's not something that we tolerate. So that's why having something like HubStaff, it helps. And but again, it's up to you. Or you can divide. You can say, I'm going to pay per output. I don't care if you work for a million other companies. This is what I want. And if I get it in time and if I approve it, then you get paid. Either way. Okay. Either way works. Okay. Get some water. Man, I've been talking a lot today. A lot. Next question. Oh my gosh. So this person got on a call with me and said, I have horror stories to tell you. Like, I never met with this person before. She's not one of our clients. We're part of a group, part of a mastermind. And she said, I'm kind of scared to hire virtual assistants. I have horror stories. Like, okay, look, let's kind of dissect. Let's see what happened. So here's like, we hired a VA on a retainer basis and signed the agreement for 3 months, commitment for 3 months. She was supposed to do our social media and agreed on a specific number of reels and deliverables per platform. I have to mention that the reason we hired her was because she seemed like the answer to our prayer. She talked the talk. She said she will post on every platform and be very active. None of that happened. I actually had to go back and post myself while still paying her. I lost money and time, not to mention my faith in hiring again. So again, we digested that, but like I would never hire someone on a retainer basis, and I would never commit to someone long term if I don't know what I can expect from that person. And it's not just virtual assistants. I even work with some companies here, some partnerships that I have, and a lot of them, they say like, well, let's lock in for 6 months, let's lock in for 3 months, and you always negotiate. And I said, actually, let's start with 1 month, see how it goes, and then if I like it, we can continue that. Okay. Or I would feel more comfortable being on a month-to-month basis, which I really do. Because here's what happened. Like, what if they do a good job on month 1, and then once you commit, like, you have to pay that. So I would never hire, someone that I never worked with and sign the agreement for 3 months. I wouldn't do that. And especially also another thing, like I said, contracts are not binding. So if you wanted to, she paid up front. Okay, so that's why she couldn't get out of the contract. She paid up front for 3 months. The VA got the money, put it in her pocket. She's happy. The VA got $2,000 a month, which is a lot for a virtual assistant from overseas. For the amount of work, I wasn't expecting the impossible, but like I thought it was saving my time, posting on every platform, all of that. And none of that happened. In fact, she had to go and post again. She couldn't get the money back. It was just very, very big. So I just want you to know that if you're listening to this, like, there's a lot of people worldwide, there's a big talent. There's a big pool of talent. What I'm trying to say, big pool of talent worldwide. So, and you have to know the prices. We talked about it earlier. You have to know the industry average. Paying this amount of money for this amount of work is ridiculously expensive. Ridiculous. And I'm sure you can find someone more affordable with better work ethic and just give you better results. And in fact, that's our model. What we focus on is we're going to give you a person that's going to be dedicated to you and act more like an employee and not like a business itself, like, oh, sign up with 3 months for me and then I'll do this. Like, no. This is your employee. This is a person who wants to grow with you and person who's dedicated to you. And trust me, there's no shortage of people who want to have the kind of job. So this is something that I would focus on. I just, I felt sorry for this entrepreneur. We had this conversation. I said, again, there's no such thing, like what I said earlier, there's no such thing as a good or bad decision. You just acted with your best knowledge at the time. And she almost cried. She's like, thank you. I've been blaming myself for that, and I feel understood. I feel heard by you because you get it. Like I was putting so much blame on me. Like, what am I doing wrong? How could I not see the red flags? Like, why didn't I anticipate that you will just take the money and leave and all of that? And you couldn't have known. What if she would have given you the best results ever? You couldn't have known that. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. But if you work with a company like us, we do offer a guarantee period. So if anything like that happens, we'll replace that VA. We constantly run ads. So if your VA ghosts you or disappears, and we're also going to work with you on how to protect yourself. So you have us more of a partner, and you don't have to feel like an island and do everything by yourself and figure out all on your own. We're going to be your partner in working through this together. Okay. All right. And one more question here. This one came from a person I actually know. He's like, not really much of a question, more so of curious of what the mindset is around the concept of having your VA do tasks that don't have any set rules and are case by case. Another way of saying that is how to train your VA over time to mirror and understand you so that they can make case by case decisions on their own. A simple example would be inbox monitoring, where certain solicitation emails may actually be needed or useful depending on the time of the year or the projects currently ongoing. Okay, that was a very good question. It took me a while to understand how do I frame it, how do I respond it in a short and just to the point. Okay, so there are 5 levels of delegation. The first level of delegation when you give to a VA is like, do as I say. Usually when you have an SOP, you have a standard process, you just need to put a butt in that seat, and you just you just have the step-by-step whatever, and you give it to the VA. It's like, do as I say, do not deviate, do not think, be as a robot, just follow the process. This is good for companies that have good SOPs, but also for companies where they have critical missions, like for example a hospital or something like medical environment, where you can't just be flexible. You really have to follow the checklist. You really have to follow step by step, right? So for that situation, you just need the right person to follow the instructions. This is not the type of person I would put here, because here you need a person with critical thinking. You need a person who understands this is important, this is not important, something like that. So this is probably going to be level 4, level 5 delegation, where they have more autonomy. But this autonomy, it takes time to develop. I have most people on my team right now are at level 4 or level 5. Because they've been with me for years. They're all virtual assistants from all around the world. They've been with me for years, and now they know they can put out 80% of the fires for me. They can answer emails in my name. They know my tone. They know my preferences. They know my voice, right? All of that. So in that case, it takes time. So this is what I would suggest you do. We have here in our company, we have something that we call a priority alignment form. Like, it's a form where you sit down with your virtual assistant and you talk about your priorities. Like, it has questions there to understand, so the VA can understand you better. Some of the questions can be, for example, and that's for email management, calendar management, and so on. Some of the questions are like, what are the dates that you're not available to work? Maybe it's your anniversary, your birthday, anything special that you don't want anything booked. Okay, so if your VA is managing a calendar, they know not to book important meetings on your anniversary, because then you're going to be in trouble at home. Okay, it's something like that. Or if your kid is graduating from high school, you definitely don't want to be talking to a client, right? So just put what are important dates, put them on a calendar. Other questions would be like, for emails, what is important, what is not important, what do you want to see, how often do you want to see the emails, how do I communicate to you, and so on. But a couple of things, if you're doing email management, because this is email, is you need to have, the VA needs to have like a couple of folders, up to 7 folders, 5 ideally, but 7 folders is okay. And one of the folders should be for CEO, for your name, for John, for Bill, for whoever's there. Have your name, and that's where you live. You live basically in that folder. And the VA should let you know twice a day at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then maybe at 3 p.m. should send you a text message or a voice message and something like, hey, don't forget you have a couple of messages in your folder in your email. You have somebody from this person, from that person, from that person. This person is requesting an answer today. Please take a look at that. Okay. So when I say voicemail on the phone, you can use this app called Voxer, Voxer. So if you're driving and if you want to send something to your virtual assistant, it's like a walkie-talkie, basically. You send a message to your VA's phone. It works in all over the world. We never had any issues with that. So it's a very, very good tool. So if you're driving somewhere and you don't want to text, you just send a voice message to your VA. Then the VA can respond as well. So at 10 a.m., at 3 p.m., or you just go and check your emails during those times. And if something urgent comes during the day, you also have at 3 p.m., right? When you check your email. But do not spend a lot of time in your inbox. This is not something you should be doing. You do not live in the inbox. You have your own folder where you can take care of things. The VA should be in the inbox and put everything in the right folder. Now, to answer the question, what if some messages are there that are not important maybe during the year, but there are certain periods or certain projects that make them more important? What do I do then? Okay. For example, I told you about our company, right? Higher Train VA. Right now, we have a special Christmas offer, and it is an amazing offer. It's basically, you have a much higher guarantee. Like you hire someone at a good price, we guarantee that this person will stay with you, or we'll replace them for free, unlimited replacements, right? We onboard that person for you. Like we have such a good package, and I want people to know about it. So if your VA says, "Oh, well, this is a newsletter or whatever," it's going to be put here in that folder where the CEO never looks at that, it's not going to work. So here's what you can do. You can have the virtual assistant screen 100 emails per day, for example, right? Now, if something is urgent goes in your folder, that's fine. But there should be a folder that's called review. And in those, like just 100 a day, especially if you have thousands of 100 messages in your inbox, you can't clean it up in one day or 1 week. So take it little by little. 100 emails a day. The VA kind of quickly tells you what the emails were about, who sent you emails and what they were about. For example, you got this newsletter, general information. You got this one, this is what they said. One sentence, a couple of words, whatever, And then Higher Train VA, they have a special Christmas offer. You don't have to give details of how much it costs or what to do or like all of that. Special Christmas offer. And then you as a CEO can be like, okay, again, send a voice message. Okay, that from this one, it can be archived. I want to look at Higher Train VA, put it in my folder for CEO so I can look at what offer they have, and then I'll move it to the right folder. Thank you so much, right? The next day, again. So when you do it by 100 emails a day, it shouldn't take too long, right? It's just a very, very quick summary. But when you slowly clear that email, you will get to a point where you don't have 100 unread messages per day because the VA will unsubscribe to the things that you don't need. Again, you will have, that's part of the priority alignment form. What do you need to unsubscribe from and so on. But eventually it'll be very manageable so that plus the VA learns more about you, what your preferences are, what you would like to do, what you'd like to respond to, what you'd like to see and what you don't want to see. And then it's going to be easier and easier. Okay. And also, while you're doing this, make sure to task your virtual assistant to put like a rule book for this, do this. In case they are promoted to another job and you need to hire someone else taking care of your email, you want to leave a document behind or a recording behind of like how to manage different emails from different people. So this is how I would handle that. What is that? Do you think this is good? Does that answer your question? Okay. The person was in the earlier live, not here. Okay, so these are the questions that I have. If you have anything else that we didn't cover, just let me know. Again, this was like so it's like I need to have a Q&A. People ask me all the questions all the time, and I think here's my toxic trait is that I think people know what I know. I think if it's common sense to me, it's not going to be interesting to anyone else. Well, of course, people know how to work with VAs. I work with VAs. Of course, they know how to pay the VAs because, like, who's going to be interested in this kind of content? And then I realized that people actually need to know that. I spoke with people yesterday. They didn't know about LastPass, about HubStuff, and it's my obligation to share this with you so you know what's possible out there. Whether you take it, whether you not take it, I have to inform you what you can do, what has been working for me and what has been working for so many people that we served. So just let me know what else you need, because what I think you need and what you might actually need might not be aligned. So I might give you maybe something that's a lot more complicated and when you maybe want to start with the basics. So just let me know what you need, what questions you have. And again, I'm going to leave you with the thought that it's not whether this works or not. It's like, I don't know if working with VAs works or no, it works. It works. I know. My example, it works. We have countless examples when we hired virtual assistants for internet for US companies, and it works. We have people who were skeptical at first, and now recently they just hired their 10th virtual assistant with us. And this is not the only company who has that kind of history. Recently, so that was during a period of 3 years. Now, recently, we have someone who joined us a couple of months ago, and now they already hired their fourth VAs just in a couple of months. Like, this works. People get things off your plate. The right people will do magic for your company. But we only select 1% of the VAs. The majority out there, unfortunately, are not that good. Okay, the competition is tough. Everybody wants to be working remotely from home, and actually, what you're paying them is more than what they would make at a local job in their companies, in their countries. But so, but you have to be selective, right? We have to interview 100 people to hire one or two good ones, but the ones that we hire, they really make a difference. So if you want to learn more about this, make sure to, you can reach out to us. Our website is Hire Train VA. Get on a call with us. Let's meet. Let's talk. I want to learn more about your business. I want to learn more how we can help you, and you can get to meet my team, and we can actually show you some really, really good examples of VAs and how they can help your business as well. Okay, well, that's all I had. If there are no more questions, if you have questions after this live, comment here. We'll come back, revise it, comment on any videos, and yeah, we're pretty easy to get in touch with. All righty. Thank you so much for joining me today. Always a pleasure coming here and talking to you, and help me help you. Let me know what you need. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you soon.